Good morning. All right, we're early because the live stream started early. So I guess we're starting at 9:54. So that is perfectly fine. Early, late, time, space. All right. So if you're early, good morning. I have been sitting with such information this morning. And last week I did touch on some of the numbers, the 5, going from the 4 to the 5, into the 7. So 2025, going from 2024 to 2025, and then going to the 2 and the 5, it's the 7, and into the 2 plus the 2 plus the 5 is a 9. So it's a 9-year. What does all this mean? Well, in relation to the Karam Kriya and what my teacher shares, I'm going to attempt to share, impart, translate, and give you something that could be of benefit moving through this time. All right. But as I am mystic medicine woman and your metaphysics minister, and also the minister of unconditional love, and anything else you want to call me, just don't call me late for dinner, apparently. So we are going to move through the soul's journey based on the numbers so that you can see what the number 1. So I'm going to draw this for you, so don't worry if numbers freak you out and whatnot. It's got nothing to do with math as such. So if you have, it doesn't really matter what relationship you have with numbers, this may be another way that you could build a kind, compassionate relationship with that part of yourself that may struggle with understanding. Now, you don't necessarily have to know what I'm telling you. I'm going to, after I've shared what comes through and what I know into my knowing, we will look at what that means in January. We're still in January 14. Oh, what? It's a 5. But today we're going to touch into the 1. Again, for those of you that are coming in again. So I'm Cynthia, and this is a cross between mystic yogini sort of teachings of the time and times we are in, and how this information and also our interaction can support you moving through this time. So not only the time of what we call the Kali Yuga, like it's the dark times, and what that means. Dark isn't bad. Dark isn't scary, but we're moving into the golden times. But we're not moving back into how they were. Well, I personally, in this physical body, was not around then. However, when we talk. So, all right. So now we've got a couple of people here on the So, all right. So now can you mute yourself for oh, it's all right. I gotcha. just in case we're hearing the phone call or whatever. All right. I've muted you all. I've got myself pinned, so you should not be on the stream. And those of you watching from YouTube or one of the other platforms, you can put anything into the chat and I'll see it on the restream. I've got all the chats gathered here, so I just have to remind myself to look at them. All right, so we have 1 minute to our formal start. So I am going to, I do not have the bell here. For those of you interested in awakening and ascension, this will give you another way of looking at it, which is it's talking about the soul's journey. However, it's from the 10 to the 1. Do I need to draw this? Let's draw some pictures, just so you have a reference. I didn't get my other black, so I'll do it in blue. Let me know if you can't see it. So most of the time I talk about the 1 to the 9, and that is because the 10, 11, 12, well, the 10 is what we call the radiant body, the 11 is the embodiment, and the 12 is, so once you have that full embodiment, you then are even more in service, which is what we may call the ashram, which purely means that at 11, you've got you and you've got, let's say, God or what you believe that to be. But just for simplicity, you've got you and God, right? In the 11, you're standing together, right? Me and God are one. One, one. Me and God are one, one, one. Okay, so that's the embodiment. And then from that space, you go to share that. Right? So the 10, 11, 12 aren't necessarily what we generally teach about. And you'll see why in a moment. All right. So I'm going to draw this way today. So we have the 9 here. Can you see that? Move my microphone. The 9 here and the 1 here. And then we have the opposite, because we have 9 and 1 go together, right? So soul embodied into this could be you're one, right? I'm going to try and keep it simple. If you want deeper knowings, you know, you can talk to me. The 5 is that crossover, right? Do you remember last time we talked about that? If you are not sure, you can go back and watch last week's recording. But 5 is that crossover. So this is your human journey to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, where there's the possibility to cross over, to invert your experience on a human level. So we're going into 2025. This year, I said that the world can turn inside out, invert itself in any moment. So if you're having a really tough time, the inversion of that would be an awesome, amazing time. Or the politics that we have can shift at any moment. We've already seen that in some countries. We can go from peace to war to peace in a moment. That's the 5, the inversion. It's much more than that, but I want to get into the teaching of the day, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, and that would be our back to earth, our ashes to ashes, our physical death. With me? Give me a nod. I can see ya. Yeah. Okay. So this, you could look at it in one way. There's many ways that I draw this, but this is a nice one that may make it easier as we go along, as I add in more information for you to follow. So birth, soul embodiment, right? This is the heavens, like, oh, okay. This is the human experience. So we've got the mineral world, the plant and mineral world, the animal world, the lower astral. I guess the lower astral and the animal are together. So we've got the mineral, physical mineral plane. We've got the organic plant plane. We've got the animal lower astral. And then we've got the human at the fore, right? Or not. Just nod. It's okay. Because as I speak to this, it will sort of flip, because here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And the 1 and 9 go together, the 2 and 8, the 3 and 7, the 4 and the 6, and the 5 and the 5, they all add to 10. Remember me saying about how the 5 is the center of the 10? And those of you that have just come in, bear with me, because when I'm going to go into almost like a breakdown. It's almost poetry in a moment. I just want to give you a visual so that I can go into that energy, okay? Right, so we usually write them like this, right? And 2 and 8 and so on, right? 1 and 9 is 10, 8 and 2 is 10, yeah. Because the whole system is within the 0 of the 10. And so the 5 is the center of the experience. So this is why 5 can invert. Okay, it's also, should I go into this? For those of you that are a little bit more been around here for a bit, I'm going to do it in red because the 8's coming up, right? And on a different grid, we have this different grid, and the 5 is in the center of that grid, but the 8 is here and the 2 is here. So we can invert that 8. You see how it's the hourglass? The 8 infinity is an hourglass. So it's a similar sort of feel to me, that what's in the top of the 8 can drop to the bottom of the 8 or the 2. So then you would need to know more about what the 2 and the vibration of that means. But that's next month. But it might come in because 2 February, right? So don't worry about that too much, but I just wanted to put that in because it popped into my little mind and said, someone wants to know that. And I was like, oh, who am I to not say? Right? Who am I not to say? Oh, you gotta love it. It like does your head in, but it's so what's the word? Satisfying. Stuff. Once it drops in, believe me, it can take some time, but I'm not teaching you the number. I'm not teaching you Calm Kriya. It has taken me many, many years, and my teacher most of his life, right? He's right. So it's not something you just go and pick up. It's a life learning of the numbers in life and life in numbers. Knowing one will not give you the information, you see, in life and life in it. So it's the practical application of. So the 1 is the what, and the 5 is the who. So the year is the 5. Who? Who am I? Write that down if you want to get the spiritual practice out of this. Who am I? We talked about this last week. If you're in any of the classes, you'll hear me asking you regularly. I can't tell you who you are in the way that you can discover that for yourself. Ultimately, I can. Today, I'm focusing more on the 1 because we're in January and I may not get much more of a chance to tell you more about the 1. The 1 is, what am I? Okay. What kind of message do I convey in the world? So you can write that down or go back. What kind of message? What is the seed? So the seed is the 1. What is the seed of each conversation? What do I want that seed to be? Each seed is a seed of God, is a seed of that connection. Okay. What do I want that to be? And you're not going to answer it right now unless you've already done the thing. Hang on a minute. So, what am I is what we're focusing on today. Let me just put this phone up here so I don't have to keep looking at it down there. And I guess, what is my intention? So a lot of people have been doing their January, what are they going into? And I've been saying, 1 is the intention. It's the basic existence. Right? It's the basic existence. So if you're looking at, oh, it's the 14th of January and I've already fallen off the wagon of whatever wagon you were on, maybe, right? I'm going to be this or that. I'm going to change. It's all going to be. If you're already saying you failed, come on. Who are you kidding? Life is a journey and it's an infinite journey. So if you're already, after 14 days, banging up on yourself, be kind. 5 is kindness. How kind are you to yourself? This is about you first before you can expand that. But without fail, number 7, the 2 and the 5 together, so the year 2025, the 7 is also about forgiveness. So if you feel like, oh, I can't be kind to myself, where is it that maybe there's some forgiveness to self? If you feel not smart enough, you feel that word stupid. We've talked about that before. When you kick your toe or you bang something or drop something, you go, oh, stupid. Inside your head even. Because I'm going to share this. Those of you in the inner circle know, because I've shared with you that when we do a mantra or speak silently inside us, it is more than 11,000 times powerful than if we say it out loud. So think of all the what you say under your breath to another. And yes, it's their responsibility for themselves, in the way that if they take that word and use it as a knife against themselves, they're self-abusing. Hence the need for kindness for ourselves. Even if they may not hear you, they may feel it in the mind field, which is number 7 as well. Our energetic field around us, right? They can pick it up. So if you say it out loud, it's better than if you say it under your breath or in your head, if it's nasty, okay? Or even if it's not, invert it. If I'm just saying how much I love you right now as I'm speaking, it's going to be exponentially more powerful. Right? And that's what I do. That's my mantra. Can you feel it? I'm loving you all up. I am. That's what I do. Okay. So, what else do I want to tell you about that? So, what is my intention? What is my intention? Maybe it's to work on who I am, which is a lifelong journey. So you're not failing if you haven't got it done by February. Come on. You hearing me? There's a sequence. There's a sequence in how you move through the world. Okay. The one is the seed or the intention or the potential for what's to grow. The two is where we start to move out into the how. The two is the how. How am I going to do that? How to communicate to God. So if one is what kind of message do I want to send in that communication? That seed is my communication, my conversation with God. And when I say God, I mean the God in you. Right? In yoga, we say the guru within. So Guru Nanak is one. And he's all the gurus and all of you. Do you understand? It's not some out there. It's finding that within yourself. And that's the journey of the 10 to the 1. So enough of that. I'm going to get into this profound, beautiful teaching, sharing. That for the inner circle, I'm thinking, so that you don't have to make notes, I will get this part to you. But those of you that are watching, just feel into it. It's like a meditation. Okay. So let me just check if there's any questions or comments. Nope, not there. I can't check. Oh, yes, I can. There you go. All right. How are we going so far? Put in the chat if you hear those in the put in the chat if because if I've lost you, my inner circle people, you're my canaries, you're my radar. I'm like, yeah, it may feel like whew, a lot coming at you. Just sit with it, because when you really look at it, the one is the simple. It's simplicity and humility. And the mind field will try to make it so complex. Okay, so where do we start with the soul? Where does it reside? It is a mystical question with a mystical answer, of course. It's everywhere and nowhere. And the divine poets and, you know, many of you have, I won't mention them. There's a lot of different poets and metaphors and music that are attempting to share their devotion, truly hearing, singing, feeling those songs, those hymns, those shabds with devotion, with bhakti and love, provide or would provide the direct experience of what they refer to. Do you hear that? with that love and devotion, saying a poem, a chant, playing the song. So hearing it, singing it, feeling the songs with devotion and love provide the direct experience of what they refer to. So I would say the beloved. Okay. So when I speak of the Divine Mother or the beloved, listening with the ear of the heart to that degree will give you a direct experience. Chanting, playing particular music, or reading poetry or listening to poetry from, the great gurus and masters and mystics. Okay. So I mentioned Guru Nanak, who has said it's harder than eating iron, and the one who attempts is a fool. So foolishly chewing iron that I now am chewing iron to share this with you, because it's not here. So in everyday language, how do we bring this into everyday language? How do we try to sit in the one, soul embodied, I exist, and be in the world of time, space, the two and the three, without getting lost? Okay. So I'll tell you a story about the donkey. You might be familiar with it. And the rider has a purpose. So we have the image of the rider and the donkey. And the rider, his purpose, mission, direction is to accomplish. The donkey has its own interests. So your goal is to go or do, or whatever your New Year's resolution. I mean, who makes those these days? But you may have, right? So that's the donkey rider. The donkey has its own interest, to eat, to be with others. What else? I don't know. To scratch himself, to rub his butt on the fence post. Cows and horses love to do that. So I'm assuming donkeys do. And this results in this tension between the rider and the donkey. So the rider holds the stick in front of the donkey, which serves to keep the donkey on track. You can do it. Just watch the carrot, or whatever it is that donkeys like. We've got a donkey out here, actually. I don't know what his favorite thing is. I see them feeding it tea leaves, not cup of tea leaves, but the Hawaiian plant. Anyway, so we're coercing the donkey to keep the donkey on track, the track that the rider wishes to go. So in that picture, the rider represents the spiritual soul. Right? And the donkey, the corporeal soul, or the physical. You with me? And they're on a journey together because it's soul and body. The soul, or the seed, comes into the physical. And the soul's trying to guide But us donkeys reminds me of Pinocchio, you know, boy, the donkey, because he went off track. Pinocchio has so much mystery and mystical teachings in it. For another day, remind me. I'll crack those old teachings out. I used to teach all the mystical understanding of those. So we have the spirit descending here to here, but we have the Kundalini rising. And there's an intersection in the sensory system at 5, the nervous system. So often we draw it like this. That's you, or a person, right? With the 5 senses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your little head. Got a little smile. Yeah. Here I am. So I'm going to try and get through this a bit quicker because maybe it'll take longer. But so I'm going to attempt to do this without too much story. What? No, we love story. Well, it is all a story, but less of my little input. So number 10, you ready? Number 10, the spirit is equal to the light of consciousness, right? Which darkens when it enters the play of time and space. So time and space, 2 and 3. So it enters into the physical and starts to move. Number 9, as spirit descends from the subtle body, it enters into the play through all the other spiritual bodies. There are 10 spiritual bodies. Put that to the side for now. Put that to the side. Each number that I'm saying is a spiritual body. So just put that to the side for now. For those of you that are interested in all of that, we can go into those teachings. But for now, just for this, live stream, I just want to give you a sense of who you are and what, the 1 and the 5. So we're in the January, the what, the 1. And we're going into the world of the 5, 7 and 9. 5, 7, 9 are the years, the numbers for 2025, okay? But every month I'm doing the month. And then you have your personal number. So you can work that in as well. But that would be more of a reading or as I'm teaching you through cloud or something like that, we can talk in that. But for now, we've got the 9. So we've got all the spiritual bodies. And then we've got the 8, which is, I guess, the mystical intelligence. That spirit is the mystical intelligence and descends and flows in our pranic body through the nadis, or through the nadis are energy centers. There's 72,000 nadis in the body, right, in the human body. And they are carrying the code of its purpose and its mission. Okay. So it's all the numbers correlate. In every number, there's all the numbers, so it's multi-dimensional, but just to give you something that's feels satisfying to me to share. And then we can unpack it another day, maybe next Tuesday. So I'm going to stay on this sort of stream for a while over the months, so that you can, particularly for students, it's a sort of, another little bit that will help all the other bits come together, right? And maybe helpful for others. So where I was up to carrying the code or the mission, the pranic ocean provides that individualization, certain amount of pranic energy or chi, what else do we call it? subtle energy. But pranic energy, so some of you have told about the breath. So the breath without the chi or the prana is not healing. So we have so much pranic energy, and it's for one lifespan. Okay, it's our lifespan. It's what we are given. It's like for those women, but for all women really, you get so many hundreds of thousands of eggs in a lifetime, and they can come and go depending on how many pregnancies you've had or whether you've been on the contraceptive pill and all of that. But in the end, or not the end, in the beginning of the end, in the last phase, the last push, right? The difference between whether you've had lots of children or been on something to stop your cycles, it's still only a few months difference between what's happening in your midlife and beyond, right? Anyway, that's another story, and I think it's very important, but not for today. Number 7 is the mystical intelligence that shapes our aura. Now, number 7 is one of the numbers that we need to keep an eye on, or just an ear out, because it is the magnetic field. It's the mind field. 7, mystical intelligence that shapes our aura, that field. It informs the higher, super, and superior ego personalities, right? This mind field. So it is entering the mind field, and we are entering the mind field. We're just in the beginning seed aspect of this year, but we are entering the mind field. And many of you, let me know, I'm so curious if you're dreaming more lately, if you're some of you having more visions lately, because 7 is about seeing, visioning, being able to moving the veils, right? So and 9, I know I'm jumping around, bear with me, but 9 is the very, very subtle realms, right? So there's less walls or barriers to you being impacted positively, negatively, karmic, dharmic, to that information. So it wouldn't be unusual for you to be seeing, feeling, sensing, have more information coming in. And I've seen it over the years now, over 10 years, every year it's, we see more and more people, the new waves of people awakening, right? Wave after wave. Okay. And so, if that's happening, this will give you a little piece to just hang that on and not to go into your fears or fear of fear. So it brings information from the Akash or the Akashic record. So the karmic imprints, those unfinished stories and lessons to learn. And it brings it into this worldly experience. So that's part of the 7. Now I could show you, like, there's so much on each number. So depending on what we're looking at, and that's the beauty of the 1 and the 9, the connection of the 1 and the 9. Do we go to the point or do we go? And you'll notice as I speak, I do this. I go point and then I abstract it, because in my chart, there's a lot of 9s, there's a lot of 7s, there's a lot, anyway. So, 6. So I wouldn't tell too much story so we can get through this general understanding of how the spirit is coming in. So at 6, spirit provides the capacity to be present and pre-sense, otherwise known as intuition and the arc line. Do you know the energy of the arc lines around the head? Sometimes it's seen as a halo or this light around the person's head. A lot of our Kundalini yoga, we're doing certain things around our head. We're activating the arc line. My core number is 6, which is sort of, if you know me, not that surprising, right? Because of the connection with the arc line and whatnot. But at this stage of the 6 of its incarnation, there's a chance to be aware even within the world of amnesia or hypnosis. Like, we have the ability to be aware in the world of this illusion. Does that make sense? And this part, the 5, will help with that. Is the spirit gets dispersed, right? So you've come in, you're going through time, space, consciousness, and then we're at 5, or we can go that way. It doesn't matter, right? Necessarily right now, otherwise it'll get too complex. But we get pulled through the 5 senses out into the Maya, or the worldly affairs of the physical body, like the senses of the physical body, right? The core 5 senses, not the multi-dimensional senses, right? Maya being time, space, longitude, latitude, horizontal existence, the work, you know, this, right? So when we're dispersed, and there, you know, I'm just thinking, I don't think I'll have time to teach the meditation, but I have in the past, and I'll see if I can find it and repost it, of calling yourself back to yourself. Because as you place your attention on external, even through thought, your soul aspect is pulled out through all of the 5 senses into whatever this, the TV, the computer, the shoes, the ice cream that you crave, or the chocolate, or the, I don't know, your protein powder. Made a big one today. It's got all sorts in it. Why? Because I'm kind to myself. It's good. All right, I need to have some. Okay. I was communicating with God then. Nourishing myself. So we're doing that through all the senses, or all the holes. Yet spirit remains the intelligence that directs us towards harmony and balance, or balance of the elements. We call the tattvas, but the elements. And spirit contains its own orientation, its own intelligence to return to itself. It's like the echo returning to the caller, right? Call and response. In an ideal situation, right? So 4, we're up to 4. Spirit has been provided with an inner secret domain known as, what do you think that inner secret domain is within the human? Let's check the chat. Yeah, I'm just checking the chat. So I actually thought about that yesterday, and I'd like to talk to those in cloud, whether you would like some information, you know, because I'm aware I don't want to go too far off the curriculum. But so anyway, we'll move on, and when we go into the inner circle, I'll talk to you about some of the things that have been coming in that sort of relate to that mystery. So this secret domain is the human heart. The location serves to provide the change of regrouping, right? Recollecting, converging, and remembering, pulling all the parts of yourself back together, right? Remembering its true nature. We're getting closer to the who, aren't we? So the 4 is now going into the when. So 1 is the what, 2 is the how, 3 is the why, or the allow, why communicate, why do this. 4 is the when. So, you know, so 4 is also that consciousness, that at the heart, that spark. So we're reconnecting. And usually this is bypassed in the descent and dispersion of spirit into the 3-dimensional animal body, right? Time, space, that the lower grid, the lower 3 chakras, so to speak. So there's a dispersion into the 3-dimensional animal body and out into the exterior world. And there'll be a chance to enter this secret inner chamber on the return journey. Because remember, we're coming down and in, and then we return home. This is why there's 2, right? Well, don't let that confuse you, because it's, you know, it may be confusing right now, but if you see it enough, and I draw it in many different ways, you'll start to get the way that you see, right? So we have the opportunity to touch in again, and a mantra for that, or it's outlined in the mantra Ek Onkar Sat Nam, and those words are about the word was God and shall be God again. Right? It is one translation, but just know that it's 4 is the heart, like that secret place in the heart, but it's also that consciousness. Our journey as a human is 1 to 4 in a simplistic way. However, we need to navigate the 2 and the 3 in multiple ways to slow down. Otherwise, we're born and then we're dead. We're dispersed, right? The 1 to the 9. So what slows it down is time, the 2, and the space, the 3. Now, they don't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. They could be 1, 3, 4, 2, or 4, 2, 3, 1. Like, there's other sequences at a more advanced level of understanding. But let's look at 3. So number 3, when we're dropping into the 3, this is with the 3-dimensional body in the 3-dimensional world, and we are of a creature of habit. Okay, so the 2 and the 3 here is where majority of you, I won't say all, but humans are having their difficulties, and many of you are busy thinking about all this, which is fine, because that's what I did too, until I dropped into the body, right? I had my second chance to drop in, to be able to navigate. And that's what we are navigating in cloud, or if you work with me, that's what we're navigating, these realms, right? So our actions determine or demonstrate what extent we are a slave to those patterns. Our life, how we speak, our habitual patterns of behavior. Right? Are we a slave to them? To those karmic patterns? They're those survival programs, those adaptive strategies, those protective behaviors. Are we slaves to them? Do we understand them? Are we conscious of them? Right? Or we have consciousness about our behavior, and then we can choose the habits that serve the journey of the spirit. What we would call Dharma, or otherwise known as Dharma, right? Now, karma and Dharma are purely the behaviors, right? They're the behaviors that come from these patterns in this realm, this dimension, okay? So, you know, ultimately we're talking about unconditional love, which is the 10. It's the whole thing. But if you bring it into how it shows out in our everyday life, you know, we're looking at what's life supporting, what's life giving, what's life promoting, which is Dharma. Soul promoting or soul demoting, karma, you know, creates difficulties. Now within that, we'll go over this another day. If you went through a list of karmic and dharmic behaviors, you can also see the multidimensionality of that as well. It would do your head in. Once you see unconditional love and fear in the world, you see it in everything. So even in the karma, you will see the love and fear. Does that make sense? Meaning that your behavior in certain situations could be either one. It could flip. But out of context, someone may see it as soul demoting, or, you know, not life-giving, but it's actually something that is, but that needs to happen, you know, those sorts of things. So the karma and dharma, in the way that we're talking about it here, and the ancients talk about it, and this is just how these traditions are. But when I look at it, I see these multi-dimensions of those actions as well. So, you know, on a basic level, is it life promoting or life demoting? So what is your action? What are you drinking, for instance? Is it life-giving or life-taking? Like, we can get right down to that kindness and what you're doing for yourself, right? And before you start looking at the extension of that, like really getting to the one, right? What kind of message do I want to convey? A message that I am love, I'm kind to myself, I respect myself, right? The message that you're giving to yourself is inadvertently the message that you're sending through the field of how others are to treat you, right? And so look around and go, oh, people are so disrespectful to me. How is that showing you? Is that what level are you disrespecting yourself? It may just be in one little piece. Maybe it's keeping your word on some level to yourself of what you know will support your journey, and we're not doing it. And this is the thing, because our body, we will not do, most of us won't do something unless it's really impacting us and we get to that point. That's because there's no consciousness. So that's what I'm saying. We're caught in that 2 and 3. We're not going, oh, with consciousness, I'm seeing how this is playing out and I can choose. Unconsciously conscious. So what else do I want to say about the 3? There's so much, but yeah, I guess the basics of it is just what I said, that we have consciousness about our behavior, and we can choose the habits that serve the journey of the spirit. Putting the truth into action. Yeah. So we'll move on to the 2, because I'm just looking at the time. The conscious spirit. So the 2 is time. Conscious spirit will enjoy the play of polarities, which is pretty much what I just said, seeing love and fear in everything. There's a play of polarity. And when you're aware of it, you have that consciousness. You're connected to that 4 in a particular way, because the 4 also has the, expansive and contractive sides of it. But it's the mystery of union and communion. And if it's not, the other side is it suffers from the delusion of duality, which is what I was saying with the 3. So if you're aware, if there's consciousness, you're just like, oh, yeah. And if not, it's like you're seeing something play out and you have no awareness of how all the energy bodies and how the energies of the other and the world, the mind field, the 7, the mind field of the world, of the collective, is in interplay now, right? So you have your own, but there's also the collectives. And so if we're not conscious of that, or at least have some awareness and work towards consciousness, that's where we suffer from that delusion of duality, right? So the spirit is the consciousness that falls into hypnosis, what's that word? Amnesia, forgetfulness, there you go, forgetfulness. The delusion due to the distortions of perception, right? So just, I'm not going to go into it right now, but as a reminder, that these patterns link to, and I can see you nodding because you remember, don't you? So some of you, the concave and convex mirroring, right? So we could bring this in, but it's a little bit more, I want to finish shortly. So that's where that can come in, right? The illusions of separation, superficiality, misplaced projection of continuity, or, so karma brings with it, or with us, these illusions, these forgetfulness, these distortions, because there is a distortion of the mirror when you look at something due to the convex nature or the concave nature. Either your body will be big and your head will be small, or vice versa. And this is part of the inversion of your experience here as incarnated, the 9 into the 1, the soul into the body. The soul body is the number 1 spiritual body. And this is what I'm alluding to, which is, you know, a lot of words, but you can replay it, go back over it, right? Or ask me questions. So the spirit forgets that it's just passing through. It forgets that it's immortal. It was never born. It can never die. That is true in its true original nature. It's immortal. And the status of immortality gets mistakenly projected onto the physical body. And we're like, oh, oh. Anyway, no judgment. But think about that. You're cutting bits of yourself off and all that. And now I think, what, like, yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother story about the parts of yourself that get cut off. And your relationship to them. It's like if you've had a baby, or if you've had, like, this is my bizarre way of seeing the world, but it's as I get older, it's actually not so bizarre. You know, when we eat something, when does it become us? When's the moment it becomes a part of us? And when's the moment that it's no longer us? Just like if you've given birth. Energetically, do you understand what I'm getting at? So anyway, I'm putting that to side because I've got to not tell so many stories. So we are mistakenly seeing our physical body as immortal, or trying for immortality. Right? It believes that what we see is all there is. And it suffers. It suffers from the illusion of separation. So, number 1. Nearly there, ladies and gentlemen. We're nearly there. Concentration, focus, are needed for the spirit to dehypnotize, for the remembering, and realize that it got lost in the false identity, right? It's a part of you that it's lost in the 2 and the 3. Like it's, you know, we can go from 1 and then step into the 2. We start to the how, from the what to the how, right? And then the why. Like we get lost in time, space, and there is a void. Many get lost in the void of that, and we never reach the 4. We never get that consciousness. We will die physically believing those beliefs and conditioning patterns that have, you know, kept us. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose. I'm not here to say either way. Oh, Lisa's there. Sorry, Lisa. I just saw your little thing pop up. It was like, she's probably been sitting there for a while. Sorry. I'm like prattling on with my stories. All right, so we're in the home straight of 1, and then we'll pop over. I've been a bit longer than I thought, but I tell a lot of stories, so it's just my way. It's my habit of behavior. So I tell a lot of stories. So
my way.
Oh, I have to mute you. There we go. Feed you back. All right. False identity. Remembering the self. That life's not about reaching some target. Yes, you can have goals and dreams and whatnot, but it's not about reaching a target. It's about what you become through the journey. What are you becoming through the journey? You know, the beauty in that. I heard something yesterday, and it's sort of an old cliche in a way, but I can't remember where I heard it, but it was about maybe it was just a reel or something, but it was about an old man sitting on a park bench, and might have been 80 or something, and just being, right, just being able to be with himself in that space. And what's coming up now for me, thinking back about that man, is that he spent his whole life to get to there, but we don't have to wait. Does that make sense? That to be able to sit, and this is a big for me, because, I'm still yet moving, but when I was younger, I was always moving and thinking and creating and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that when you have the stillness, the consciousness. Right? But often we don't get that into our later years. And what I'm saying is, you can have that now. This is what we're talking about. It is a journey, but it can start wherever you are now, rather than waiting until if you even make it that, some may reach 100, 140, 160. Like, we have the capacity. How are you going to be in that body at those ages is another story, right? And this is what I was alluding to earlier, that you can start to think about it now. As many of you wouldn't have thought about it when you were 18, what you do at a certain age, shows up at a certain age. What you do to your skin when you're younger comes out all those years later. But we don't think about it at the time because we're in the moment, and it's not about worrying and all of that, but it's about being kind to the self. What's your journey? What is the journey that you're wanting? So we're journeying. And so the spiritual soul is the consciousness that is in transit on the journey from 9 to 1. Nine to 1. Conscious spirit fulfills its purpose through unifying and crystallizing, becoming the diamond or the pearl in the oyster, or that the diamond in the heart space, the cup of prayer, right? Cup of prayer, the chalice at the heart. So the point of life is to become the point. The point of life is to become the point. So that's what I was saying about that, the man sitting on the bench, being the point. The small that contains the all. So the symbol that we use for the House of Unconditional Love is that the expansion, contraction, the small to the all to the small. It is the human experience as I see it, as I've been showing through my connection. So when that point becomes a point of light, it's available for 10 plus 1. The one to the one. God and me and God are one. Both one. 11. And now the consciousness will no longer say, I am a spirit having a human experience. The new sense of identity is that the identity that emerges like a rebirth or a resurrection is and declares, I am the light of the soul. I am the light. Another way of looking at it is the bride of the divine, right? We are the bride, or the the one rises again to the fore. The heart domain of the neutral mind. I haven't gone into this, but the neutral mind is number 4, right? So 1 soul body, 2 negative mind, 3 positive mind, 4 neutral mind. These are the minds. And that through life's traumas tended to be in a passive or dormant state of numbness, paralysis, apathy, become the space of the awakened one to reside. So it's a transformational metamorphosis. And it's been possible due to the incarnation in the physical body of a human. So when the physical body serves as a spiritual body, then it offers itself as continuous sacrifice for the sake of the journey of the spirit. So first, the spirit inevitably gets lost in the identity of the physical body and the material domain it lives in. So, the physical body and the Maya, the stuff, the world around us. And eventually the spirit comes to know itself as the radiant body of light. That you will lose the sense of your physical body as your body, and you will develop a sense of yourself, your body, as the body of light. That it always truly was, is, and shall be. So one of the gurus say, your body shall become as gold, and that alludes to that. But your physical body as your body will develop a sense of yourself as the body of light. Okay. Now, that was the journey through a very quick, can you imagine? Like, it's a journey. It's a unfolding. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. It's an unfolding journey, transformative. But literally what I wrote up here, this is your awakening ascension. This is the rising of the Kundalini, right? From here on its journey back. Kundalini is only one little speck of it, but all right. So on that note, those of you that are watching on other, let me just check the other chats. I haven't been watching no, that's good. All right. Got multiple screens up here, different things. So with all that being said, the one is the what. So you could ask yourself this month, what message my little note here. What kind of message do I want to convey? Or what is the seed? What is the simple truth that I want to, pardon me, plant in the world for it to grow? What is the conversation you want to have? Because this journey, if you, whether you follow these traditions or not, it's for everyone. It's the God in everyone. It's that light within everyone. Call it what you will. But to get to God and me are one, like, can you see the beauty of that? They're both one. God and me are number one. Together, 11. So cute, really. But there's power there, right? So this is why I'm not often teaching about the 10, 11, or the 12, because it's it's the 10 envelops all of this. All of this plays out in the 0 of the 10. Our life, this life that we're playing out, is the 0. And then we've got the point within the 0, which is us, embodied, the aspect, soul embodiment, to then grow. So that seed planted. And now all you have to do is work out how you want to navigate. Are you cool, going through life unconscious? Not a judgment. It's not a judgment. You get to choose. You get to choose. And sometimes you'll be more conscious than others. Sometimes there'll be a longing, which is the 1 going into the 2, right? The other side of 1, the loneliness, or the, right, into the 2, the longing. So you're longing for that journey to happen. There's a longing for that remembrance of God, the beloved, all that light within you. Yeah. Okay. So in the chat, not on the live stream, but on the social media, I have put, oh, have I? Let me see. Or maybe I haven't. There are the links of how to connect. We're here every of the first 3 Tuesdays of the month, but we also have the Sunday, the first 3 Sundays of the month. We have the House of Unconditional Love. So we've got one more Sunday, and then the last, well, depending if there's 4 or 5 weeks, but the last week is our admin, catch up week. So the links are there, and there is still only for this month, the golden offer is still there. And if you can't find any of it, just go to the Academy for Conscious Evolution.com, I believe, and you'll find it all there. Okay, on that note, place your placement that through this year, being a 5, and those of you that need a break in, jump off, have your break and come back in a couple of minutes. And so what was I saying? So the who is the 5. So who is my true identity, Satnam? So as you're going through this year, you're looking at, who am I? What's my true identity? and this is the core of the teachings in Cloud Odyssey, which you can join, start in with us this month, or you will have to wait until I think it's April or May, I think is the next one. But you can, January is open, and or come and speak with me one-to-one. And the other question is the what am I? What am I communicating? What am I conveying? What do I want to grow? What potential is there? And then as we go into February, we can start to look at the how, if you choose. And if you don't, you don't. All right. Much love. May the blessings be. And I shall see you next week, if not before. And for those of you on the inner circle, I will be with you. Well, I'm not going anywhere, so I'm here. I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone else. All right. Let's stop the live.